not so much of a competition anymore or constantly trying to make sure that we're on an upward, forward momentum or trajectory at all times. It's a little bit more like an ebb and flow. You take each day for what it is. You try to enjoy the small things in life. For example, when we came back to the office and we started all working together again, I remember just how much I loved being in the office and being around my coworkers and just having a cup of coffee and just chatting for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before going in and getting some work done. And that's something that I took for granted before that I didn't get to do. So it's all those little things, those small things that I think we reevaluate and realize, you know what, we actually have it pretty good, but we can still make it better.
So what's your focus in the not-for-profit sector these days?
Well, these days I have been putting a lot of time into PACE again because of the fact that we had to make such rapid responses to the developing situation for our members. So that's been the primary focus for me. The Women's Association of Criminal Lawyers, which of course is another organization that I founded, must be 3 or 4 years ago now. We have been trying to pivot in order to find ways to meet the needs of our members in terms of offering continuing legal education and things like that. But of course, that's difficult to do as we used to always do it in person. And so now we need to find ways to do it using technology and to figure out what actually is the needs of our members at this point, whether it's just that they want to take this time as a breather and maybe get back at it in a few months. But we're just refocusing and trying to figure that out for now as well. So really, at this point, I've just been trying to put work into keeping my business going and to keeping everything afloat, just trying to keep it so that we can come out on the other end and we still have the infrastructure to do what we would like to do.
Do you think we're going to bounce back to the way things were, or will they become a new normal?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, that's a great question because I think that we have this one challenge that we've now been met with, which is, of course, the COVID-19 virus. But after this, if we're able to beat it, what comes next? It's scary to think about that and to think about this new challenge that we're now facing globally.
Because this is the Conversation Lab, I'm curious, what are the most difficult conversations you've had in the last 3 or 4 months?
Well, I think some of the most difficult conversations for me have been personal ones because I'm not from Vancouver and I have no family here. So all of my family is throughout Canada and specifically in northern Alberta, which is pretty isolated. So it's been hard for me not having that family time face to face and trying to navigate that. So that's been hard for me, certainly. And, for the most part, I find professionally, people are understanding and they get it and we're all working together. But it's hard to manage family and expectations around that type of thing when we're not able to just hop on a plane or get in your car and drive out there and see each other for things like birthdays and holidays. So that's been hard.
Yeah, it's hard to get a hug on Zoom.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
What haven't we talked about that we should be talking about?
Well, there's just so much going on. It's so hard to allot our time and resources into, what actually really matters right now. And I think that what really, really matters is putting the time and the work into ourselves and our communities to make sure that we can move forward, and we can make progress. And I think it's important for us to figure out how to embrace the change that we inevitably can't stop. It's happening. It's happening around us. So how are we going to make that change and how are we going to adapt to live through it? And these are huge questions for us. And particularly for me as a criminal defense lawyer as well, when I look at the societal changes that are being demanded at really grassroots levels as well amidst this pandemic.
So I'm curious, when people ask you, I want to help, but I'm not sure what to do, what would you say?
I think that we just have to listen to the people around us and the voices around us. What do we need help with? What do people need help with today? What sparks you? What's your vision of change in this world? What do you view as being positive and proactive? How can you contribute, and what can you contribute? I think it's important to look at the skill set that you have, because it doesn't always look the same for every person. Some people have unlimited time and resources to put into projects, while other people may contribute in smaller ways. Just offering that support to local organizations to reach out and to say, I'm here, how can I help? And to be curious about that. So I think that's important, to ask the questions and then just fit in, where you can fit in, because any small thing helps at this point.
Yeah, I like that comment. I like the idea that we don't have to fix it all, but just doing a little bit, doing what we can makes a difference.
Yeah, and I think that I certainly felt that way, I would say, pre-pandemic. I felt like I had to do it all. I was overextended. I was doing everything. And I think it's important to get that focus where you realize, no, I don't have to do it all. I can do little things here and there. And you know what? It actually turns out better for everybody if you do it that way, because you have more energy and you can come to the table with more when you give maybe even a little bit less.
I'm going to have to think about that. There's so much to be done. I look south of the border sometimes and I just shake my head and wonder if we're going to find a way out of this thing. And then I hear conversations like this and I'm optimistic again.
And I think that oftentimes the other thing too we could take from it is that sometimes it's about making space for other people to be able to do the work, or to have their voices heard. And I think that's a lot of the movement that's happening today around us, where we just need to be quiet for a bit. As a white presenting, cis, straight, female, upper middle class person, I just need to be quiet sometimes. And I acknowledge that so that other people can speak out. Other people can have their voices heard. And actually a really unique example of this that I was happy to have a part in was that I recently gave my platform in the Georgia Straight, which is of course local community newspaper here in Vancouver, to two of my colleagues who are Black women, business owners here in Vancouver. And I said to them, take my platform. I want you to talk about the racial issues and the inequality issues. I don't want to do that. I don't have any business doing that. And it was so well received. So that's an example of, doing nothing, using your platform, using your privilege and your power to elevate others. And it makes so much more of a difference than if I had gone out there and said, Black Lives Matter, right? I think a part of that is just sitting back right now and letting other people take the reins.
No, it's a great way to look at it. And I couldn't agree more. It's understanding our position and when to lean in and when to lay back and allow those voices to be heard.
Exactly. We have to make space in order to make change.
Great conversation. I don't have any more questions, but it's great to see you, and it's great to catch up. And I'm glad you're well. I'm glad your doors are open again. I think there are some huge structural issues ahead in so many different areas that I often get overwhelmed. But I'm encouraged by your comment of do what you can. So thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Well, don't be a stranger.
Okay, take care. Bye.
This has been another edition of the Conversation Lab. We've been speaking with Sarah Leamon. If you'd like to find out more about Sarah, and you should, she can be found at the Sarah Leamon Law Group. That's another edition of the Conversation Lab. This radio program and podcast is produced by CFRO FM in Vancouver's downtown east side on the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. Our gratitude and thanks to them, as well as the many not-for-profit organizations and community groups for their support. If you enjoyed this program, please consider becoming a member of Co-op Radio to help support programs like these. We can be found at coopradio.org, theconversationlab.ca, and on many podcasting platforms. And thank you for dropping by the Conversation Lab.